Hello everyone, welcome back to another lecture on readings in literature. I hope you have enjoyed the story, An Exercise Book by Rabindranath Tagore. It was a story of a little girl called Uma. I liked it. That's why I asked you whether you liked it or not. I hope it is. But unfortunately, I came to notice that only a few students have been watching the lectures regularly. It's quite sad. But I said earlier, I'm repeating it once again. If you don't watch the lectures and prepare for your examinations regularly, you will be in trouble at the end. That's for sure. Anyway, your third semester examinations are approaching, and all of you might be preparing for that. That is why I'm purposefully not giving you any assignments. After finishing a chapter, usually we do answer the questions given at the end. Usually I ask you the questions and you have to answer that. But as your examinations are approaching the third semester exam, I'm not giving you any classwork or not making you to answer the questions that we will do at the end. So what I'm thinking is to finish the portions as early as possible and work out with the questions. Unless I ask you questions, unless I force you in some other ways, you're not going to learn. That I know. As a teacher, I know. Anyway, today I would like to discuss another short story. Before that, let me ask you one thing. Have you noted down the portions which I have to handle in the fourth semester from the textbook Global Voices and Cultures? Once I have shared my portions in the Google Classroom, I have to handle 6 chapters from this textbook. One is I Can't Help Blossoming. It is a poem written by Dr. Ayyappa Panikar. The next poem is Journey to the Interior by Margaret Atwood. And two more short stories, that is The Man Who Was a Hospital, that we are going to discuss today. And another short story is that we have already discussed, that is the exercise book written by Rabindranath Tagore. And one essay is there, that is Nightmare, written by Malcolm X. So it's a lengthy chapter. Those who have the textbook, that clause is wrong because you must have the textbook. So get the textbook as early as possible and note down these portions. And Nightmare, that is an essay. And finally, we have to study play, a short play, one act play by Anton Chekhov titled A Marriage Proposal. So out of the 6 chapters, the last two, one Nightmare and A Marriage Proposal, are lengthy one. It will take a lot of time to finish. Uh, I don't know how to finish a portion in 1 hour or half an hour. That is why I'm brushing the portions. So these are my portions which I have to handle in the current semester. Please note it down. And we have already finished one short story, and today we are moving on to another one. Its title is The Man Who Was a Hospital, written by Jerome K. Jerome, page number 57. So, this title, The Man Who Was a Hospital, what do you infer from that title? How can be a man to be a hospital? Here say that the man who was a hospital. The title seems so confusing. A man who is at the hospital? Okay, it sounds correct. But the man who, how can a man to become a hospital? So this question might be arised in your mind. If not, you have to think. This is what I have to uh, say. When you get a short story, or when at least when you are going to watch a movie, you should think on the title, what it might be, what might be the theme. Oh, the title seems quite interesting. So here also, as a reader, I found the title interesting. The Man Who Was a Hospital. It is written by Jerome K. Jerome. It's a short story. Okay. Uh, so yeah, let's start. I will share the PDF with you. Let me think I couldn't minimize it. What happened? Yeah, no problem. It got minimized. Okay, this is the short story, The Man Who Was a Hospital by Jerome K. Jerome. And let's compare the uh, point of view of these two short stories. The last short story, an exercise book, it was written from a third person point of view. Someone is narrating the story of Uma. But here, it is the character in the story itself narrating his own story. So, this is a first person point of view. This short story written from a first person point of view. And the protagonist, whose name is not known. Sometimes it is not mandatory to have a name for a character. Here also there is no name for the character. That is one of the another specialities which I have found in the short story. When you go through the story, you will also come across with some other points that you can share with me later, or you can mention that in the comment box too. So here the protagonist is saying that it was my liver that was out of order. I knew it was my liver that was out of order because I had just been reading Patent Liverpool Circular, in which were detailed the various symptoms by which a man would tell when his liver was out of order. I had them all. So here, the person is saying that I read an article on some disease related to liver. And after reading the symptoms, what might be the symptoms of a liver disorder, I feel that I have the same problem. You might have seen some persons, or you might yourself experience the same situation. Now we know that we all are facing a pandemic, and the major symptoms of corona is headache or fever, lack of taste, lack of smell. It varies from person to person. So in the current scenario, sometimes if we feel a headache or a sneezing, we immediately will think that, oh, I have all these symptoms, so probably it will be corona itself. But in the current situation, if you have such intuition, uh, do check it. Okay, test it. Test yourself and make sure that you have corona or not. But in other cases, when we read the symptoms of a disease, we do feel that we have the same. So people do assume like that. I have the same problem. So this is a psychological problems of human being. So here also that man has the same problem, and he has read the symptoms of a liver disorder, and he assumes himself that he had the disorder. It is the most extraordinary thing but I never read a patent medicine advertisement without being impelled to the conclusion that I'm suffering from a particular disease therein dealt with in its most virulent form. The diagnosis seems in every case to correspond exactly with all the sensation I have ever felt. So he said that he do read on various diseases and assume that he has the same. So this is his habit. Usually, he is interested to read about diseases and its symptoms, and he do case studies also, and he assumes himself that yes, I have the same problem. And he said that diagnosis was correct. This is what he believed, and he is sharing one of his experience. Okay, he is talking about an incident already happened in his life. I remember going to British Museum one day to read up the treatment for some slight ailment of which I had a touch hay fever. I fancy it was. So one day he felt that he had touch hay fever. Touch hay fever means allergy. Some kind of cold. Sometimes we do feel kind of fever due to allergy, sneezing and coughing and all. So one day he felt the same and he went to the British Museum to read about it. So because he fancied, he's saying, look at the word fancy. He fancied. He imagined himself. He had that problem, and he took a book. I got on the book and read all came to read, and then in an unthinking moment, I I idly I turned leaves and began to indolently study diseases. So he took a book about various diseases. So he took a book and it consists more details regarding the various diseases. And he started to read and he started to turn the pages lazily. Intolerantly means lazily started to study the diseases in general. I forget which was the first distemper. Distemper means it is a viral diseases usually finds among animals, especially in dogs. I plunged into some fearful, devastating stage. I know, and before I had glanced half down the list of premonitory symptoms, it was borne in upon me that I had fairly got it. So when he was going through the pages of that particular textbook about diseases, he read about distemper, a kind of disease. And after going through that, he felt that, oh my God, I had these symptoms, premonitory symptoms I had, and he imagined that, yes, I had. I'm suffering from distemper. This is what he concluded. Look at the man, how interesting he is. Don't you find it is interesting? He is an interesting man, but I do. Okay, anyway, I sat for a while, frozen with horror. My God! So he is reading a book, and after reading this, he sat frozen. Oh my God! Have distemper. He sat there for a moment. And then, in the listlessness of despair, I again turned over the pages. He didn't stop his reading. He started to read the other pages. He started to continue his reading. Then he read about typhoid fever and read the symptoms, discovered that I had typhoid fever. Oh my God. I don't, not only I have distemper, now I have typhoid too. Then he read about, I'm not reading all the lines, then he read about St. Vitus dance. Okay, that is another disease. Oh, even I have the same. So, in that textbook, the details are given in an alphabetical order. So, randomly he read something, and after that, he started to read about all the diseases given in the textbook in the alphabetical order. And after that, he read about bright diseases, cholera, diphtheria. So, here you can see all these diseases. So, when he read about these diseases, he arrived at a conclusion. Yes, I have all these diseases. I am a man with full of diseases. That is what he concluded. So he said, I plodded consciously through the 26 letters, and the only malady I could conclude I had not got was housemaid's knee. So we know that in English language there are 26 alphabets, and sorry for the mispronunciation. So there are 26 alphabets. So in the alphabetical order in the book, it has clearly explained all the diseases, and he read about all those things, and finally he arrived at a conclusion that I have all these diseases except housemaid knee. What is housemaid knee? മുട്ടുവേദന. മുട്ടുവേദന ഒഴികെ ബാക്കി എല്ലാ അസുഖങ്ങളും എനിക്ക് ഉണ്ട്. അങ്ങനെ ഒരു മനുഷ്യനാണ് ഞാൻ എന്ന് ആര് തീരുമാനിച്ചു? ആ അയാൾ തീരുമാനിച്ചു. I felt rather hurt about this at first. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഒരു അസുഖം ഉണ്ടെന്ന് കാണുമ്പോൾ തന്നെ നിങ്ങളുടെ റിയാക്ഷൻ എന്തായിരിക്കും? അയ്യോ, എനിക്ക് ഈ അസുഖമാണോ? അല്ല, ഒന്നിൽ കൂടുതൽ അസുഖങ്ങളുണ്ട്, ദൈവമേ എനിക്ക് ഭയ എൻ്റെ ജീവിതം കഴിഞ്ഞു. ദിസ് ഈസ് ഹൗ വി ഫീൽ. നമുക്ക് വന്നതിനെ പറ്റി ഓർത്ത് നമ്മൾ വ്യാകുലപ്പെടും. പക്ഷെ ഇവിടെ look at the response of that man. He felt rather hurt about this at first. He felt bad because he don't have housemaid's knee. See, he has arrived at a conclusion that he possesses lot of diseases. ഉള്ള ഡിസീസിനെ പറ്റിയില്ല, എല്ലാ കൺക്ലൂഷനെ പറ്റിയില്ല. എനിക്ക് ഹൗസ് മെയ്ഡ് നീ ഒന്നും ഇല്ലല്ലോ, അത് മാത്രം എന്താ എനിക്കില്ലാത്ത. ദിസ് ഈസ് ഹൗ ഹി started to think. It seemed somehow to be a sort of slight. Why hadn't I got housemaid's knee? Why this invidious reservation? So, invidious reservation, the meaning is ill feeling against the possessor. സാധാരണ ഒരു മനുഷ്യന് കണ്ടില്ലേ, അവൻ്റെ അടിപൊളി അല്ല ഫോണുണ്ട്, അല്ല അവന് അടിപൊളി കാറുണ്ട്, അല്ല മറ്റുള്ളവർക്ക് എന്തെങ്കിലും അവർക്കുള്ള നല്ലൊരു കാര്യമുള്ളപ്പം അത് എനിക്കില്ലോ എന്നോർത്തുള്ളൊരു ഒരു 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 അത് പൊസസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റാത്ത ജലസി. This is what he feels now. I don't have housemates near some others have. Why I don't have this? This is what he thinks. After a while, however, less grasping feeling prevailed. I reflected that I had every other known malady in the pharmacology. I grew less selfish and determined to do without housemaid's knee. Okay. Anyway, just leave it. After some moment, he thought that, oh, anyway, I have all other diseases. Okay, let me leave. Let me get rid of this housemaid's knee. And again, he said that I have gout, I have cyanosis. So these are some other diseases. I have all these things. So I have to think about it. I have to think about the diseases which I have. I sat and pondered. So he started to think about this. I thought, what an interesting case it must be from a medical point of view. What an accusation I should be to a class. As students would have no need to walk to the hospitals if they had me. I was a hospital in myself. So he sat down and he started to think, what an interesting patient I am. I'm a class itself. Usually medical students, they have to go to different patients. They have to diagnose different patients for their study. They have to randomly walk here and there in the hospital. But look, I'm a man who possesses all these diseases, so I'm a hospital in myself. So I can be a great help for them. All they need to do would be to walk around me, and after that to take their diploma. So if they want a diploma in medicine, what they have to do is they have to simply walk around me and diagnose me and study on me, make a study on me, and then you will get your diploma because you will understand about all these diseases after treating me. Then I wondered how long I had to live. I tried to examine myself. Anyway, I have all these diseases, so I want to know how long I'm going to live. So I want to take a consultation. I want to appointment a consultation, and here this is a funny paragraph. He started to check his pulse. So sometimes it happens when we try to check our pulse, we couldn't make it. So he started to check his pulse, and he said, "No, oh my God, I couldn't find it." And after some time, what he did was he somehow he figured it out and he counted, and it is 147 to the minute. 147. Usually, we do study like that 72, so sometimes it increase like 84 or 90, so that's okay. But the crossing the 100 is a dangerous thing. So he counted it. Oh my God, it is 147 per minute. Then after that, he started to check his heartbeat. How? He started to check it. He started to bend his head like that. Anyway, he couldn't feel. And he so thought, oh my God, is my heart stop beating? Anyway, this is what he did after thinking about all these things. You can go through this paragraph. I'm not reading every line. So if I do so, the lecture will in the span of length, the span of lecture will increase. So I don't want that. Anyway, I had walked into the reading room a happy, healthy man. I crawled out a dusty breath. I went to my medical man. He is an old chum of mine. So then he walked to the reading room and he was happy and he thought that okay, anyway, I'm going to be a sick man. I'm going to be an old man. Anyway, I want to meet my medical man, means my doctor. That doctor, he is an old chum. Chum means in your language, old chum, the close friend of that man. And 35 feels my pulse and look at my tongue and talk about the weather all for nothing. So usually he do make a visit to his friend for checkups, and he will check his pulse and he will ask me to show my tongue, and after that he will not say anything regarding my health. Instead we randomly talk about weather for nothing. But when I fancy I'm ill, see, as I told you, this story, this incident has already happened, and the narrator is narrating the incident which has already happened. So he said that at that time I fancy, then when I fancy a meal, so I thought I would do him a good turn by going to him now. So I thought it's better to consider him as early as possible. What a doctor wants, I said, is practice. So imagine if a doctor want to excel in his career, he want to practice, he want to treat as many as patients with different diseases. So if he could treat me, it will be a great boon for him. See, I'm going to do a favor to my friend, so he shall have me. He will get more practice out of me than out of 1700 of your ordinary commonplace patients. Instead of treating 1700 of uh, other patients, he can learn a lot by treating me. I said, I will not take up your time, dear boy, with telling you what is the matter with me. So finally, he reached the doctor's place and he said that I'm not going to waste your time by explaining what all those things. So you have to understand one thing: life is brief. If I started to explain, my life will be explained. So it's a long story. So what I have to say that, dear doctor, I haven't got housemate's name. What? Doctor astonished. A patient came and he's saying that I don't have housemate's name. Usually, when we consult a doctor, we will say that, Doctor, I do have this disease. I have fever. I have a housemate's name, or I have headache. Or I have what disease you have that you will say. Here he is saying that what he doesn't have. What a contradictory. Why I have not got the housemate's name, I cannot tell you, but the fact remains that I have not got it. Everything else, however, have got. Doctor, I don't have housemates name. I don't know why it is like that. But you have to understand another thing. Except housemates name, I have all other diseases. I'm a man with numerous disease. I discovered it. Then he opened me and looked down on me and clutched hold of my wrist and then hit me over the chest when I wasn't expecting it. Anyway, doctor started to examine this man. He took his wrist and checked the pulse, and finally, as an unexpected turn, the doctor hit over the chest of the patient. A cowardly thing to do, I call it, and immediately afterwards butted me with the side of his head. He butted him with the side of his head. After that, he sat down and wrote out a prescription. He followed it up and gave it to me, and I put it in my pocket and went out. So this was all about the consultation. Okay, doctor checked him, and he took a paper and he started to write the prescription. Okay, he didn't say anything else. So he followed it and gave it to the patient. He took it and he put it in his pocket. The patient went back. I did not open it. It is a doctor's prescription. I have no medical knowledge. If I read it or not, I'm not going to understand anything at all. But usually, when we get a prescription, we do pretend to read it, what he has written. We don't understand what he has written. But now the rules have changed when we consult the doctor. The doctors are instructed to write name of medicines in capital letters now because of lot of complaints. Anyway, here also the prescription has written. The patient took it and he went back. And he went to the nearest chemist and he gave it. And the man, the chemist, he read it. He said, I didn't keep it. Okay. The medical man, the chemist, he read the prescription and he gave it back to the patient and he said that, I'm sorry, I don't have it. The patient asked, you're a chemist? Are you a chemist, isn't it? Then, uh, so he was astonished. ഒരു പ്രിസ്ക്രിപ്ഷൻ കൊടുക്കുന്നു ഉടനെ അയാൾ പറയുന്നേ എന്താ ഇതൊന്നും ഇവിടെ ഇല്ല എന്ന്. അപ്പോൾ ഇയാളെ പെട്ടെന്ന് ചിന്തിച്ച് കെമിസ്റ്റ് ആയിരിക്കില്ല, അവിടെ ചുമ്മാ വന്ന ആളായിരിക്കും എന്നൊന്ന് എൻഷുർ ചെയ്യാൻ കെമിസ്റ്റ്. So that man said, yeah, yes sir, I'm a chemist. If I were a cooperative stores and family hotel combined, I might be able to oblige you. Being only a chemist hampers me. Yes sir, I'm a chemist. But I can give you what has written in this prescription. I could have helped you if I'm running a cooperative store and a family hotel combined. താങ്കളുടെ ഈ പ്രിസ്ക്രിപ്ഷൻ എഴുതിയ കാര്യം എനിക്ക് ആസ് എ കെമിസ്റ്റ് ഇപ്പോൾ ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല. ഒരു കോപ്പറേറ്റീവ് സ്റ്റോർ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു സൂപ്പർ മാർക്കറ്റ് പോലെയുള്ളതോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു ഫാമിലി ഹോട്ടലിലൂടെ ചേർത്ത് അങ്ങനെ രണ്ടുകൂടെ ചേർത്ത് നടത്തുന്ന ഒരാളായിരുന്നെങ്കിൽ ഈ പ്രിസ്ക്രിപ്ഷനിൽ പറഞ്ഞിരിക്കുന്ന കാര്യം എനിക്ക് ചെയ്തു തരാമായിരുന്നു. So, after hearing this answer of the chemist, the patient wondered, What are you saying? Oh my God, what is the prescription went wrong? And he took the prescription. Yes, it is the doctor's prescription, and he started to read it. And it ran like this: one will be beef steak every 6 hours. So that is first thing. So every 6 hours we have to have beef. Then 10-mile walk every morning. So the second thing, so the patient was instructed to have beef in every 6 hours. I have to walk 10 miles every morning and have to go to bed at 11 o'clock at night, and don't stuff your head with things you don't understand. That is quite interesting. Don't stuff your head with things you don't understand. You're over reading. Don't read. Stuff your head. Don't confuse yourself with unnecessary things. then you will be all right. This is the prescription. So probably he is asking him to help me to get some disease. See, this man, he is imagining himself that he has some disease always. The doctor itself know that. So if you want to have some disease, it is better to include more food and get sick. Otherwise, a man walking 10 miles every day probably might collapse. And stop reading unnecessary things. So, if you have bathe 6 hours in between 6 hours, and if you walk this much time, and if you are instructed to go to bed at 11, you will not get much time to read unnecessary things. So if you do so, you will be fine. See how the doctor has treated the patient. It's quite interesting. I feel funny after reading this. How to handle with some people with such kind of psychological problems. Actually, the man, that patient has some psychological issues. But here also, look at the reaction of the patient after reading it. I followed the directions with a happy result, speaking for myself that my life was preserved and is still going on. That man, he couldn't even realize that the doctor was mocking him. Instead, he said that this was the prescription given by the doctor, and I followed his instructions, and now I am leading a happy life. My life is still going on. I'm healthy. So when we look around us, obviously we can see some people like that. Some people, they are obsessed with medicines. Whenever they have a small headache, they will have a medicine. Unless they have a medicine, they will think that the headache will not go. And they even force other people to do the same. So here also, uh, the central character of the story has some psychological problems, and he couldn't even recognize what he has been going through. Anyway, because as he is following these instructions of the doctor, he couldn't get much time to overthink about other diseases, and now he is okay. So this is all about the story, The Man Who Was a Hospital by Jerome K. Jerome. I hope you enjoyed this story too, and go through the story carefully, and I will make you write and will make you answer the questions later. That I will definitely do, otherwise, we are not going to study anything. And I'm not sure, usually the students, they will think like this, why should we have to listen the lectures of teachers? We have guides available in the stores, so we will get it and we will by heart the answers and we'll write the examinations. I'm not, I don't really depend upon this guides and all. I'm not against it too. It's up to you. But I have to share some problems if you are only depending the guides which is available in the market. Because all the students are depending on the same guides and all the answers will be same. And if you try to by heart these answers and write it in your examination paper, all the answers seems similar, and immediately the teacher will understand. Okay, it is an answer they have by hearted from some other guide, and it will create a negative impression, and it may adversely affect your score too. But if you have read the chapters and if you understood what it is, and along with that, if you read the answers from the guides and all, when you write answers in your examination paper, it will be your own. So it will have a contribution of your own in it. And another trouble with the guides and its answers is sometimes some answers might went wrong. So these are the problems. So always listen what your teachers are teaching you. And then, if you want, you can go beyond this lecture by depending upon this guides. So it's all up to you. Anyway, with this, winding up today's lecture. Thank you.